Yes, we should be able to do that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I think we're recording now. Looks like we're recording. Okay. So that's good. And so what we'll do, we'll
Michael, you got muted again.
they just do not want me to talk on this deal. Thank you, Taylor. So my name is Michael Green. I'm the procurement officer for this particular project. And my role will be just to kind of oversee the procurement phase of this as we kind of move forward. And let me ask Jared to introduce himself.
Hey, Jared Morris here, IT Director for the City of Tempe. Looking forward to everyone's participation and hope we get some good questions. Thank you.
And Stephanie.
Stephanie Dietrich, Chief Data and Analytics Officer. I'm in IT.
Thank you. And we have Taylor Powell.
Hello, I'm Taylor. I work with procurement and procurement specialist that's just going to be helping out here.
Thank you. And I see, I think is Will Price on board with us?
Yep, I'm with you. Good afternoon. I'm Will Price, the Bureau Manager over Police Analytics.
Thanks, Will. Are there any other Tempe members that I haven't introduced? Okay, I think that's everybody on the Tempe side. So let me start with, we are just a little background on how we're going to move forward. I would like to point out that any of our verbal conversations today will have no impact on the RFP unless we come out and clarify those things in writing. And we certainly anticipate that we'll be issuing an addendum or two as a result. So that's just a heads up on that. On the question side, we're going to try to move through the document. I'll pull the document up here in a moment, and we will go through, section by section as we kind of move through that proposal. And feel free to put any questions in the chat, and we'll try to keep an eye on that and get those addressed, and then we'll go forward from there. And I think that's what we want to do here, folks. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully you guys can see the document.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
we can see it, Michael. Thank you.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. All righty. So let's again, the city has issued this RFP number 23-166 for a cloud-based data transparency and management solution. The key dates here our deadline for inquiries would be June 12th. So feel free to send your questions that we don't address today. You might have some follow-up issues that develop. Please shoot an email to me, and we will make sure that we get those questions addressed through addendums. So there's our deadline there, and the due date is June 22nd at 3 p.m. Please make sure when you turn your proposal in to this email that you allow sufficient time to get that submitted. Do not wait till the last minute to process your document, because there is a transmission time, and these documents will be fairly large. And please do not wait. I would be putting that in much before the deadline date and time. So we the rest we have our table of contents here that will get you, kind of route you around to the document. This is just a explanation about, we're hoping to keep the proposal within the templates that we have inside the document. And this next part of the RFP process is our general instructions. We won't go through each one of these, but feel free. This should give you some guidance on everything related to turning your proposal in and the process that we have. So I'm going to just kind of go through this as a section. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions on the general instructions. This covers several pages. And so, Taylor, let me know if we see anything in the chat on questions on that.
You're good so far, Michael. We'll let you know if we see anything. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. And so the next section is standard terms and conditions. And these paragraphs will become part of the contract that we have with the firm. And so these are actual contract terms that we're now involved in. And again, these are fairly boilerplate. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. Please know that there is a cooperative option here. So we do make any successful award would be eligible for other entities in Arizona to potentially utilize. And these are all boilerplate paragraphs. Again, I'm going to scroll through here fairly quickly. Get through that. So those are our standard terms. So if you have any questions on that, let us know. And now we are into our special terms and conditions. And again, these will be part of the contract as well. These are a little bit more customized to the project at hand. And here I'm going to spend a little bit of time. So term of contract, again, we will award a contract based on council approval, and the project will continue through full implementation and the first year warranty period. So that's the initial term, is from the award date all the way through implementation, plus the 1-year warranty that we're requiring as part of this work. And then the contract renewals will happen thereafter. We're establishing a 10-year renewal plan here for this contract. And even beyond that, once we get past the 10 years, then this contract can be renewed annually between the parties. And we do have a pricing section that we've basically put together in a narrative format, and we are looking for pricing out for those 10 years as part of your submittal. Please know that we do have a note here on the pricing beyond year 10. We would like to cap at 3% increase. Again, that's for year 11 on. And the firms can offer their pricing through the first 10 years. And let's see what else. Of course, we have our insurance requirements. Please take a look at those. Travel, if there's any travel anticipated, we would like travel to be in accordance with the policy that's embedded here. And if you go to these links, you'll be able to see what those reimbursement rates are. So that's our travel. Of course, we have a lobbying prohibition. We need to have you communicate any issues during this meeting time through my office and through my email phone number, and we will coordinate from there. And so now we are into our published background and scope of work section. And what I would like to do is have Jared kind of give us an overview of what the city is trying to accomplish with this RFP.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael, for outlining, a lot of those different provisions here. Let me get to the right place in my document as well.
Sure.
And just making my way down to the scope of work. Generally speaking, the city of Tempe is looking for a data warehouse, data management, analytics and reporting suite. That's the general idea. I think some things that are important as far as the scope of work is that we want a system that can grow with us over time. This initial contract and solicitation is solely for the police data, but we anticipate that many other departments would be coming into this data warehouse, as well as data analytics and all publishing, those sort of areas as well. So, of course, the city of Tempe is a medium-sized city in Arizona, with many residents who want to just make sure we make available that public safety data to our citizens. Right now, internally for our PD data, we use Versaterm. It's important that we're able to extract that data, put it in the warehouse, and be able to work with that data. Another area that is very important is that a solution be compatible with ArcGIS. We do use a lot of ArcGIS in our work as well, and there's a small portion in our presentation where it talks about some other systems. But at least for this part of our work this year, Versaterm and ArcGIS are really going to be important compatibilities. There's other information. We'd prefer something that is kind of an industry standard or an off-the-shelf solution. With that said, we'll entertain any solution that is able to, warehouse data, provide that data on demand, and that we can do those analytics and kind of data sharing across our organization. So if you have a custom solution, please respond to the RFP. Still, we want to take any solution into account. There may be really innovative solutions that we have not thought about, but we are looking for one of those implementations that can be that we can work with going forward. We can maintain it over a long period of time. Just skimming real quick to see if there's other areas that are important. I think another area as far as the work to be delivered that is important is some group that has a lot of technical capability as well as project management capability. We of course have a full IT department with 85 active staff, as many as 95 or so. It just depends on if we're fully staffed up, and we do have that support and to be able to make this project a success. With that said, we're looking for a vendor that is able to speak to past deliveries on their projects, a lot of success with delivering time after time, data warehousing, analytics, and other solutions. We will be, and I don't think this is necessarily mentioned, but as we go through different departments, of course, court management, community health and human services, fire, human resources, financial services in subsequent years, we'll be working through what are those problems. If you want to mention something that, if your system provides or your solution provides some capability to support those other departments going forward, that I think that would be really important to include in your proposal. In addition to experience working with public safety and Versaterm, I think in addition to that, working with other areas would be very important. I'm trying to just double check and read through here. I think that is about it on the scope of work. I do want to invite our Chief Data Analytics Officer as well, Stephanie Dietrich, to chime in. I may be missing something as I kind of skim through that. But Stephanie, is there anything else I should mention before we're fielding questions here pretty soon?
I think the only other thing is that even if this is something that is off the shelf and not something that's custom created,
Absolutely.
One of the things we are interested in is making sure that there is some ability to be able to programmatically leverage some of the elements without having to have like an external vendor come in and have to make every change for us, or if we want to, do some customization in whatever dashboard application comes with this, that there is some sort of ability to programmatically interact with the tools. If that's not possible, then when the proposal is submitted, if people can share more information about kind of how we can customize some of the tools, that would be really helpful for us.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it goes without being said, but I'm going to mention it anyway. And that is anytime we have standard ways of getting at data and using different tools, it's very important. It's kind of an expansion of what Stephanie said. So just think of things like APIs, following normal standards, normal development processes, those sort of things. If there's a proposal that is unique where we cannot get any access to data and things are thoroughly proprietary, those are solutions that we're going to be less interested in. but just picking back on what you mentioned. But Michael, I think that's about it for the scope of work. I'm happy to field questions later, or did you mention that we should ask questions during this time that we're outlining the scope of work?
Well, I think this would be a good time to just do a real quick perusal of the rest of the document and
Okay.
and so I think I'll do that. And before we do that, I would just like to ask Will if he would like to make any comments. Will Price is our PD representative. And Will, just from a high level view, did you want to share any comments at this time before we move on?
No, but thanks for the opportunity. I think Stephanie pretty well covered what we're looking for. But, you know, the level of flexibility in this is important to us, that we're working with a lot of disparate systems. So being able to draw the water from those various wells and put together what we need from them really is at the core of this. So I really don't have too much more to add. I think Stephanie covered it pretty well.
Okay, thank you, Will. And again, we're just going to go through a high level of the rest of the document, and then we will open it up for questions. So again, just scooting through the scope of work that we have here. Again, under technology, security, and performance, this is where the city provides you with a backdrop on our IT structure and architecture. So please review that. And let's see. So now we get into the questionnaire section. So please know our RFP does have a series of questionnaires that you'll want to respond to. And there's basically this first series of questions, 1 through 7. So you will see these. Starts with mandatory basic requirements and addresses each one of these categories. So on this one specifically, please review the mandatory basic requirements and respond appropriately here so you can get a feel for what we're looking for. If you have any questions or concerns about any of the mandatories, this would be the time to be bringing those to our attention. And section 2, background on quals and general information on the firm. And section 3, we want to look at your firm's employees' experience and qualifications. So this is where you'll be telling us about your team. Section 4 is where you're going to talk about your proposed solution. So we've got 3 specific questions. Describe in detail the software solution being proposed. Number 2, describe why you believe this solution is the best fit, and provide a timeline for accomplishing the initial police department phase. And we're kind of looking at an tentative award date of September 1st. So that's what our timeline is currently. And then we get into section 5, project implementation and methodology. So there's some detailed questions there. Section 6 is training. 7
Hey, Michael, do you mind if I
Yes.
cut in real quick?
You bet.
We did have a question in chat. I know you were depending on us to be able to do that. So we have a question here. It says, can we include commercial experience in addition to government experience? And I assume the answer is yes, Michael.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, I think we're open to either areas that you would have.
Thank you.
And I'll double check that just to make sure, but that is my recollection. Okay. Well, we got our first question. Nice. Okay. Let's see. We got so we have section 6 is training and user documentation. Then we get into warranty, maintenance, and support services. And then this is where we get into the technical questionnaire. So this has been specifically developed by our IT department. And so all of these areas will need to be addressed by your company. And You can go ahead and you can easily respond in here and provide your input right into the format. I'll just scroll through here rather quickly. We have a reference section, so we're looking for 3 references. So this is government agency or corporate references. So to clarify that answer, yes, we're open to either one. Share with your references here. Here is a section on your terms and conditions. Again, we published our terms and conditions, which I showed you earlier. If your company will require us to sign a separate agreement, this is where you'd want to disclose that and respond accordingly here. This is our evaluation criteria section. This is how we will evaluate the proposals. So we have outlined the criteria. We have 5 criteria, and this is the weight. And so please take a close look at this. This is how our committee will read and score the proposals. And once we get done with our initial scoring pass, then we'll probably be shortlisting, and we'll move into an interview demonstration of the project, and that's worth 300 points. And then we did want to add in a unique pilot project that we would like to ask the final contenders of. And Jared, would you like to maybe just chat a little bit about that step? I know that was we're excited about that opportunity. We think it'll help us make our decision.
Absolutely. I'd also like to give folks an opportunity to think of questions they may have, pause a little bit for that too. So if you all are thinking of questions, surrounding this election, I think it's important to consider that as well. So, of course, I view this as 3 kind of distinct phases. The first one is looking at this kind of on paper proposal. So folks will respond, they'll talk about different pricing, they'll talk about, what their proposed solution is. And so that's kind of all pretty straightforward. I think, everyone on the call is probably pretty familiar with doing that. The next section is basically an interview. Folks will come in, present, a PowerPoint or, some other presentation of what they think a solution could look like. So it's kind of that next step. And I neglected to mention, only those that kind of have passed that first round will be invited to that second round. I imagine it would be a pretty select group, meaning we have 30 folks on the call. I wouldn't imagine there would be near 30 on that second round. It'd probably be a very exclusive group because we're asking for folks to put effort, come in, talk with us through a presentation, and then only 2, maybe 3 people would ask to do a pilot project. For those systems or solutions that would be, totally custom, of course, we would just ask for a more advanced presentation or maybe a presentation on what you've done before. But for those solutions that are, already working, we would provide a small set of data from one of our systems. We have a lot of data on our open data site. So if you're looking for, what it might be, you can obviously go to our open data site and look up PD data. It's probably going to be along those lines. And we'll just ask, hey, can you represent this in your system or what it could look like in your system? Of course, there'll be more benefit to actually showing it in the system running itself. But of course, we'll also allow for people to say, hey, this is how it will look. We have some of our own dummy data, so to speak, or our own test data. We've incorporated some from City of Tempe. So we'll, of course, be very, understanding of many different ways of attacking that pilot-based criteria. But we want to keep it to a very exclusive set of folks, because we don't want everyone everyone possible to do that extra work. We're asking for some additional work and want to make sure it's only 2 or 3 different firms. I would like it to be as few number as possible at that point, but thanks, Michael, for letting me speak to that. I don't see too many questions, so apparently it's pretty straightforward, but I'm happy to field any questions later on in this process. If folks have questions in the future, of course, you can send them over to Michael, and happy to respond there to the entire group.
Thank you, Jared. Sounds good. And this will be our ranking scoring so the weights will apply this ranking to our weights, and that's how we'll get our points. So you see that. And the next section is pricing. So on this one, we elected to try to keep it more narrative as far as what we were looking for and allow our firms to customize their pricing structure back to us. So we've given you the framework for what pricing should look like. As Jared had mentioned, that this is a longitudinal type contract. We do plan to grow this. So the first phase really is the PD phase. So in that, we're looking for a lump sum price that will show separately all costs applicable to furnishing, customizing, licensing, integrating the data migration, implementation, hosting, and support of the proposed solution through city acceptance and including the first year warranty period. First phase will be primarily focused to the police department and the vision that we've described herein. So provide the number of hours being calculated for each of the consulting labor time categories. So hopefully, and we're seeking your input here. Hopefully we've defined that well. We need you to help us make sure it is defined so there's no confusion in your pricing. Let us know how we can clarify that. Second phase is the provide annual costs after the conclusion of the first year warranty period for the hosting and support of the completed solution for PD. And then the third phase is that growth mode. So that's where we're going to need you to explain how we're going to bridge pricing for future work under this contract, because we do plan to expand it. So that's where you're going to want to show us your approach to how that would work. And then at the bottom there, we got some general price components. Explain how any travel costs would be, if that would be needed for your location and where you're at, and a budget. And then there's the tax issue. So that's what we're looking for on there. And I'm just going to scoot through the rest of this document. We're going to get to Q&A here real quick. So that's our pricing section. And then here's the offer page. Please make sure you complete this and that you sign this. Very critical. Our city approaches this as if you fail to sign this form, then you're out of the process. So it's really important that you get this signed and back with your submittal. These are our anti-discrimination ordinance. The city has a policy. We like our companies to share that policy. That's what this does. And this again is a certification related to the forced labor of the Uyghurs in Republic of China. So we have a statement here that you agree that we would not be using any resources under that approach. We have a supplier sustainability questionnaire. We do want to know what our companies do when it comes to their sustainable effort, and we share what we've been doing as well. And this is your checklist. So this is just a little checklist to make sure you get everything done. Please remember that time frame. Do not wait too long to get that submitted to us so that it can get through. So those are, let's see what else we have. I forgot we have an Exhibit A. So what we've included here is some background information. Slalom was contracted with on the first phase of this project, maybe a year and a half ago. And they were tasked with doing a lot of the analysis on the police department, and their work output was this document. The key parts of this document is what we've structured here for the rest of our firms to review. So please review this. This will really, I think, help orientate our companies to know what we've done to date and where we're planning to go from here. So that, I believe, is our full document. So now I think let's turn it over to our suppliers and our companies here to see if we can answer and clarify anything.
We have a question here. It says, and let me just pull this up. So this is from Trevor Brown. Is Slalom eligible to bid on this phase? Yes, they are. Is that correct, Michael? Just double checking.
That is correct. We made that statement when we originally did that first RFP, and we clarified it at that point, and they are eligible to bid this project.
Hi, Michael. This is KD here. In the RFP document, it mentioned that there's a deadline on June 12th to submit our final questions. When can we expect the turnaround for those questions to be answered?
Yeah, that's a good question. Depending on the volume that we get, but we'll try to get those out fairly quickly. And with in mind that we don't want to close you too close to that due date. If we need to extend the due date, we will, to make sure our companies have plenty of time to digest the responses and complete your response. So I would hope we can get them to you within a week. That would be the goal. But if we're starting to get tight on that, we'll adjust.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Quick question on the data and source systems. We mentioned Versaterm as a primary source system for PD data. Are we expecting any other systems in this first phase? And if so, how many?
I believe there might be another one for PD data as well. Let me check real quick if it's mentioned in the document. Is Image Trend also a PD system, Stephanie?
No, that's fire.
Oh, okay, so not that one. Okay. I think there was another one. Was it? I'm looking at that same line. IA Pro. Are there any of the other ones PD systems, or are they all separate?
IA Pro is PD.
Okay, so I think IA Pro is the only other PD specific system in this group. But I think I mean, we have it up, so let's look through the list. Versaterm is PD, IA Pro is PD, Image Trend is fire, so it's not necessary for this step. ArcGIS, Power BI is necessary. And then in the review that was done by Sloan, there was some benefit to having a system that worked with Tableau and AWS, as well as Power BI. There's no comma between ArcGIS and Power BI, so I didn't, I skipped that. But those are all, options as well. I would say it's critically important that Versaterm, IA Pro, and ArcGIS are part of the mix of the solution, but the other systems are kind of, nice to haves. So there won't be, a penalty for not having, not speaking to the other systems. So again, Versaterm, IA Pro, and ArcGIS are the kind of critically important systems.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, I can ask one. First, thank you for being super thorough and putting together a good RFP. It makes it easy for us to respond to. On the third phase, as it expands the solution to other departments, were there specific other departments you had prioritized, or do you want it generically for any department?
There is a list of departments in the RFP. I think Michael's making his way possibly over there.
Let's see. I'm not sure if I was going to go into the price sheet section, but I don't think I
Oh,
put
that's
it
fine.
there, Jared. Let's go back up to the scope. Maybe it's
Yeah, it's in the scope, but it's not prioritized. Just generally speaking, there's not a prioritization. We'd likely work with, the vendor selected to prioritize the next one in the list. But yeah, I think that we're gonna have our hands full with the PD implementation for some time and all the work around that. So I think there'll be plenty of time to prioritize the next one. Another piece of information, just for everyone, we're talking about different systems and different things like that. Our financial and HR data is currently held in PeopleSoft, but next year, one calendar year from now, we'll be looking over that system to move off of it. Just some information for you all to have, again, the next systems aren't yet prioritized, but that's just another piece of information. Stephanie, you were going to say something? Sorry about that.
Yeah, and once these two PD systems are brought on, I don't think our intention is to then come on and say, we're going to do all of water, then we're going to do all of community development. I think that while this work is happening, we will be going out and talking to people more than we have. So like I have an initial idea of here are the things that everybody needs that are top priority, high impact. So we will probably look at those and then in some form rank those based on order. So it could be that the next phase of this could include something from water, something from community development, something from fire, and not just let's get the complete department up online.
Super. Thank you both.
Oh, there was a question in chat. Sorry about that. The question is, do you have metrics that can be shared on data volume, sizes, average growth for those systems, Versaterm, et cetera, to assist with pricing? I don't have that data on hand, but and I'm thinking of Stephanie, do you happen to know information of how much data we have in Versaterm? We can also maybe take this question and respond to it at a separate time as we have a chance to investigate that question.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay, we'll get back to this question. We'll note it that it has not been answered, and we'll send out a response to everyone just to give you some idea on Versaterm and the other PD specific system, its size.
Michael, this is KD here again. In the slalom assessment, there was a recommendation that the city of Tempe move forward and use Power BI government version today. Is that the version that Tempe is currently on? Or if not, are there plans to move to that?
So I would say that we are on Power BI version today. I would say that City of Tempe has not gone all in on Power BI or Tableau or any sort of analytics package or tool other than ArcGIS. So that's why ArcGIS is really important to have as part of the solution. But we'll be open to other options. Yes, that was the recommendation from Slalom. One note about the recommendations from Slalom in general. Really enjoyed working with Slalom. I think they had a lot of good information. I would say for the firms, don't feel like you have to completely mimic the work that they did. I would want you to each of the different firms to come back with what they believe is the best solution and what they think their particular solution or team or anything like that can offer City of Tempe. So don't feel like you need to completely follow that. So if you have some other analytics package that's really great, that's great as well. Not a problem.
So those objectives in the assessment aren't necessarily requirements or guiding principles for us to move forward with.
That's correct. But it is reflective of, I think Slalom took, and I wasn't here for this review, but between a year and 9 months or so looking over our systems with a fine-tooth comb. So you'll find pockets of really great information there. But again, don't feel like it's something that you have to include or mimic as part of your response.
Right. And just to clarify my first question regarding the Power BI, the differentiation there was the government version of Power BI. Do you know if Tempe is on the government version?
We are.
You are. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And I will say that my assumption is that if this is some sort of data warehousey like solution, that it shouldn't matter. Right. So we should be able to use Power BI. We should be able to use Tableau. We should be able to use ArcGIS. If it's solely locked down to like an individual thing, it's gonna have to be super clear about how that individual visualization platform can speak to a really wide array of analytical needs, plus users from people who aren't data people who are going to be scared of using stuff like this, to create something to people who are programmatically going to want to go in and help create some of this or do some analytics or customize things.
Absolutely. Michael, aside for you, that last question, the question of if we're on the government version of Power BI, can we earmark that for review. I know we already had one for review, but I just want to double check and provide some of that to the
Okay.
team. And I guess, you know, some explanatory information of why that's important. Power BI Pro for government or for enterprise have different, they have different factors involved. There's different ways of going around working with both of those. So it's important for our vendors to know, you know, that information. We had a question over chat, a similar, you know, piece of information. Do you have enterprise licensing already for Tableau and Power BI? And do we need to include pricing for BI tools? I would say that no, especially for Power BI, you not need to include pricing for that. You know, we would see what level of licensing that we would do with that as a separate thing. I'm sure the same would be true of Tableau, but, you know, truth be told, I don't have a wealth of experience in Tableau itself. You know, want to double check. We do have enterprise licensing for Power BI, but it's not widespread. And I'm not sure if we have any on Tableau. I think we do for some area, but I don't know. Stephanie, do you happen to know some additional information on that?
Yeah, right now we're working on individual licensing with Tableau. We've talked with Microsoft. And so once this starts and we have a wider base of people where we're going to need to be sharing data that needs to stay internal, we will be moving to enterprise licensing of Power BI. It's been a while since I talked to them, so I don't remember what it's called, but basically where, you know, we have more fine-grained abilities to control like who can see what, you know, sharing things out as a service versus having someone having to have desktop. Tableau is very specialized right now. There's not a lot of people using it. I am sure everyone on this call has had conversations with Tableau about their enterprise licensing. Hopefully everyone agrees with me. It's amusing. So I do not see us as an organization. Fine. I don't see me as a member of the organization and someone who is very thoughtful about using taxpayer dollars ever moving to an enterprise licensing level with Tableau unless they seriously restructure there. So that's my PSA for the moment of government use of enterprise Tableau. So it's a very specialized group. They all live in PD right now. They're used for very specific things, and I don't see them moving off of that for a long time, but we aren't going to be expanding out from that.
Great.
Any other questions?
Sorry, KD here again. I noticed in the RFP document there, some of the pain points was different definition criteria for your data. Is the city of Tempe looking at a master data management application to assist with that, or where is the city in regards to that master data management application tool or solution?
I don't think we have one currently. Stephanie,
We
can I
do
punt
not.
over to you again?
We do not, and that is something that we do need to be looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, again, we've got some more time, so feel free to shoot us any other questions. But maybe we have exhausted the questions for this conference. So you certainly have the ability to email me any additional questions you have as you review that document and kind of digest the conference. And we'll be happy to get some more clarifications. And we got a few here that we'll make sure we include in an addendum. All right, well, it looks like maybe we are good to wrap up. Jared, any closing comments for our group of suppliers before we wrap up?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and really appreciate the interest and the expertise you all bring to this, to this RFP, and just excited for the responses that we can get and working with a strong partner. This is we're looking on a 10-year timescale for this contract, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes many years in the future of that. So we're really looking for a key partner that we can depend on for a long, long time, and just appreciate your all's interest and your excitement around this. Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for, yes, we see a question from, oh, you're good. You're saying
I think
bye.
they're saying bye-bye. We'll
right,
talk
guys.
to you next time.
All right, guys. Thanks everybody for joining. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.